Here's Rationality Rules describing one of God's creations, and it's just so beautiful.
Dracunculiasis, which is derived from the Latin affliction with little dragons, is a parasitic infection caused by the guinea worm. A person becomes infected by drinking water that contains microcrustaceans infected with guinea worm larvae, and once one's stomach acid dissolves the crustaceans, the larvae then penetrate your digestive tract, escaping into your body, where over the following year, they grow up to 80 centimeters or 31 inches in length. The worms then mate, with the males dying shortly after, but the females eventually migrate to your subcutaneous tissue, where they cause an extremely painful blister to erupt that compels you to submerge the wound in water. Then, over several days or weeks, the worm slowly emerges from the laceration and expels thousands of larvae into the water, which in turn infects crustaceans, thus continuing the so-called beautiful circle of life.
It's the circle of life.
Like, seriously. What the is that? I guess God was just feeling a little extra loving with this one.
Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus.
Now that I've gotten a few jabs out of the way, let's get a little more serious. This kind of thing poses a very specific kind of problem for theists, and that's the problem of teleological evil. What's that? According to philosopher Felipe Leon, something is an instance of teleological evil just in case it's an instance of suffering that occurs in virtue of the natural purpose or design plan of a thing, i.e., it's part of a thing's design plan or one of its natural purposes to cause other beings to suffer. It's important not to confuse the problem of teleological evil with the problem of dysteleology. The latter problem traces back to Darwin's discussions of imperfect design found in biological organisms and their parts. The problem of teleological evil differs from the problem of dysteleology, in that while the latter appeals to poor design as evidence against a supremely intelligent designer, the former appeals to a good design, in particular, design that's well suited for causing suffering, as evidence against a supremely benevolent designer. Put simply, the problem of dysteleology is the problem of stupid design. The problem of teleological evil is the problem of malevolent design. Or even more straightforwardly, there's a lot of stuff in nature that if we were to entertain the thought of a designer might make us think that that designer is an idiot. That's not what this is getting at, though. What it's getting at is this. If we were to entertain the thought of a designer, there's a lot of stuff in nature that might make us think that that designer is a psychopath. Analogically speaking, of course. This would obviously undermine the existence of God as traditionally understood, as all-powerful, all-knowing, and perfectly good. And the argument can be formalized in the following way. 1. The world contains a lot of teleological evil. 2. The world containing a lot of teleological evil is surprising on the hypothesis of theism, but not on the hypothesis of naturalism. 3. Therefore, the world containing a lot of teleological evil provides at least some disconfirming evidence against theism vis-a-vis naturalism. Now, of course, it's not like theists can't fit this data into their story, but that's a trivial point. Anyone can harmonize any amount of data they want. I could claim that dogs are alien spies and spin a story where all the available evidence is consistent with that hypothesis. Likewise, a theist might combat teleological evil by saying that everything was originally created 6,000 years ago in perfect harmony in face of all the evidence to the contrary, though of course there are more sophisticated responses than that. All of that to say, there's more work to be done in defending your views than merely making them fit with the data. So does this kind of data fit well with theism? Well, I'll end with a zinger from friend of the channel Emerson Green, and go watch the rest of this debate if you haven't already.
I should say that I do have the easy role in tonight's debate. I'm glad I'm not in the position of having to excuse why God allows rape and torture and animal predation. If I were running a simulation, I wouldn't allow these things if I had the power to prevent them. And it's not that I would intervene in every little interaction. I would just create a different causal web that didn't generate these effects. I would, however, have some limitations as a simulator since I can't do anything that's logically possible, I'm not all-knowing, and I'm not morally perfect. If I were, I couldn't imagine a remotely persuasive excuse I could offer if you saw that the simulation I created was filled with torture, rape, genocide, animal predation, war, birth defects, and so on. And even in my limited power and skill, I'm not sure I could offer a good excuse for creating or permitting those things.